The Black Archive.
Voices of War number 01. The first jump. My name is Thomas Whitaker. Most people call me Tom. And this is Voices of War, here on the Black Archive. I'm not here to give you dates and maps. You can find those in books, in documentaries, in places where everything looks clean and organized. War isn't like that. War is confusion. War is noise. War is fear. The kind that settles in your chest and doesn't leave, even decades later. In this podcast, I'm going to tell you what it felt like. Not what history says happened, but what it was like to be there. And tonight, I want to take you back to the beginning. The first jump. The night we stopped being boys. It was June 1944. We had been training for months, running drills until our legs gave out, jumping out of towers, memorizing procedures like our lives depended on it, because they did. But training has a way of lying to you. It makes you believe you're ready. It makes you believe you understand what's coming. You don't. Not until that door opens. Plane was already loud before we even took off. Engines roaring, metal shaking, men sitting shoulder to shoulder, trying not to look at each other too much, but we all knew what was coming. Nobody said it out loud. There were about a dozen of us in that aircraft, packed tight, knees touching, gear strapped so heavy it felt like the floor was pulling us down. Across from me was Jackson. Private First Class Daniel Jackson. He was from Georgia, talked slow, smiled easy, always had something to say, until that night. That night, he was quiet, kept tapping his fingers against his helmet like he was trying to remember something important. I leaned forward and asked him what was on his mind. He didn't look at me, just said, "Feels different now, don't it?" I didn't answer, because I knew exactly what he meant. We had jumped before. Practice jumps, daylight, clear skies, instructors shouting at you the whole way down. But this wasn't practice. This was night. This was enemy territory. And somewhere below us, there were men waiting to kill us. The red light turned on. And just like that, everything changed. The chatter stopped. No more nervous jokes, no more forced smiles, just breathing. Heavy, uneven, loud inside your own head. The jump master stood up, hooked into the line, checked his watch, then he started yelling. Not words you could really understand, just commands we had memorized so many times they didn't need to make sense anymore. Stand up, hook up, check equipment. The line moved fast, too fast. I remember my hands shaking as I clipped into the static line. Not violently, just enough that I noticed. And once you notice something like that, you can't unnotice it. The plane started shaking harder. Flak. You could hear it hitting the metal. Sharp cracks. Like someone throwing rocks at a tin roof. Except these rocks could tear the plane apart. Someone behind me started praying. Not loud, not dramatic, just a whisper. Over and over. I didn't turn around, didn't want to see his face, didn't want him to see mine. The red light stayed on longer than it should have. That's what I remember most. It felt like time stretched, like we were suspended between two worlds. Not soldiers yet, not safe anymore. Waiting. Then suddenly green. The door opened. And everything became noise. Wind screaming into the aircraft. Cold air hitting your face like a slap. You couldn't think, couldn't hear yourself. Only thing that mattered was moving. One after another. No hesitation. No second chances. The man in front of me jumped. Gone in a second. Then another. Jackson. He didn't look back. Just stepped forward and disappeared into the night. And then it was my turn. I stepped up to the door, and for a brief moment, everything slowed down. I could see the darkness below. No ground, no landmarks, just black dot. It didn't look real. It looked like jumping into nothing. And in that moment, every instinct in my body told me not to do it too. Stay to grab onto something to survive. But the hand on my shoulder pushed me forward, and I jumped. The fall wasn't what I expected. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't cinematic, it was fast, violent, confusing, the wind ripped the breath out of my lungs, my body spinning slightly before the chute snapped open above me, and then silence. That's the part no one tells you about. After all that noise, it goes quiet to quiet. You're just hanging there floating and suddenly you can hear things again distant gunfire shouting somewhere far away, explosions lighting up the ground in flashes. That's when it hit me. This was real. This wasn't training. Those sounds weren't blanks. Those flashes weren't controlled. People were dying right then. While I was still in the air, I tried to look for the others, for Jackson, anyone, but it was impossible. Parachutes scattered everywhere, some too far, some too low, some drifting in directions we hadn't planned. We were supposed to land together. We didn't. I hit the ground harder than I expected. Rolled awkwardly, gear slamming into me as I tried to get up fast like they taught us. But nothing felt like training anymore. My hands fumbled with the straps. My breathing was too fast, too loud. Every second felt like I was exposed, like someone was watching me, waiting. When I finally got free, I crouched low, listening. The night wasn't quiet anymore. Gunfire cracked in short bursts, voices shouting in a language I didn't understand. And somewhere, not too far away, someone was screaming. I whispered Jackson's name. No answer. Tried again, still nothing. That's when I realized something. No one had really prepared us for. We were alone. Not as a unit, not as a squad, but as individuals. Scattered across a dark battlefield with no clear direction, no clear plan, just instinct. I started moving. Slow, careful, every step measured. The ground was uneven. Fields broken by hedges and small ditches, hard to see. Easy to trip. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every sound made your heart jump. Then I heard footsteps. Close. Too close. I dropped to the ground, heart pounding so loud I was sure whoever it was could hear it. The steps got closer. Branches snapping. Breathing. I gripped my rifle tighter, finger resting near the trigger. Not ready, not really. But there was no time to think about that. A figure emerged from the darkness. Same helmet. Same gear. American. It was Jackson. Didn't say anything at first, just looked at each other. And in that moment, there was relief. Real relief. Not the kind you fake during training. The kind that makes your shoulders drop. Just a little. He let out a breath and said, "Well, guess we made it." I nodded. Did, and trust my voice. We were supposed to be part of something organized. A coordinated drop. A precise operation. But standing there, in the dark, just the two of us, it didn't feel like that. It felt like we had been thrown into something way bigger than we understood. That night, we didn't win anything. We didn't take objectives. We didn't make history. We just tried to survive. And that was the real beginning. Not the speeches, not the training, not the plans. That moment, standing in the dark, realizing no one knew where they were supposed to be. That's when the war truly started for us. We weren't soldiers yet. Not really. We were just boys, trying to make it through the night, and the truth is, some of us wouldn't.